Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy.
Yes, the oligarchs. It's a conspiracy. It's a threat to our democracy. It's taking shape just today. That's a lie. It took shape long ago, and it served and serviced the Democrat Party for years and years, and it put Joe Biden in the White House. But now Elon Musk has left the plantation, and Mark Zuckerberg has come out and said, I'm not going to engage in censorship for you anymore. And now the Democrat Party is turning on their lords and masters, the information oligarchs that have served them so well for so long. How absurd, honestly. Now, and just as a refresher, I want to share a couple of items with you. And here is Elon Musk, and I played this for you before, but not very recently. The Elon Musk, lifelong Democrat and supporter of the Democrat Party, and they love the billionaires when the billionaires are supporting the Democrat Party. And if they stop singing from the Democrat Party's sheet music, then they will turn on you because they're not liberals. They are leftists, and the left destroys the world. But remember, as Joe Biden talks about this, yada, yada, the oligarchs and the conspiracy and the threat to democracy, everything's a threat to democracy when they're losing political power, which kind of indicates that they are the actual threat to democracy when we live in a constitutional republic. Just by the way, Elon Musk, you may recall, was this on the Joe Rogan show? Joe Rogan, maybe not. Joe Rogan was also a Democrat and a Bernie Sanders supporter. He's not anymore. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., obviously a Democrat and a Democrat Party supporter. He's not anymore. Elon Musk, a lifelong Democrat. He's not anymore. And Mark Zuckerberg's still a lifelong Democrat, but he's got other things going on. Here's Elon Musk talking about his politics since Joe Biden's talking about the billionaire oligarchs being a threat to democracy.
I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president. I'd call myself, historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country.
Historically, a moderate Democrat, a big supporter of Barack Obama, billionaire, and that was fine then. No threat to democracy when Elon Musk, multi-billionaire, was waiting in line to shake hands with Barack Obama. Amazing stuff. And this actually was it was an interview that Elon Musk did with Donald Trump and Donald Trump did with Elon Musk, and they sat down and had a conversation, and it streamed on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him. And that's where Elon Musk said, listen, I know I'm supporting you now, President Trump, but I'm a lifelong Democrat. I always did support the Democrats because the oligarchs have always, I guess maybe they found it easier to buy the Democrats like the cheap street corner politicians that they are. Mark Zuckerberg, this was on the Joe Rogan show. I know Mark Zuckerberg, lifelong Democrat, funneling huge gobs of money like George Soros to the Democrat Party. I think he spent, Zuckerberg, $400 million on the Democrats in the last election cycle. And then Joe Biden lost. And now, because he's a lifelong Democrat, he has no principles and no morals, and he doesn't believe in anything except money and himself. And then he said, well, wait a minute. Now I'm going to start narking out what the Democrats did, because he did these interviews where he talks about the FBI getting on the phone with his people and, Facebook and so on, and saying, oh, you can't let people share true, accurate reporting about the Biden family. Mark Zuckerberg.
While they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. I mean, Biden basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating and coming after our company. It was brutal.
This is why Biden and the Democrats have turned on them, because they feel that Musk and Zuckerberg have turned on them. So now it's time for the government to declare war against the oligarchs, right? Joe Biden's choice of words, because they are no longer faithful poodles of the Democrat Party. Censorship, and he used the word again and again. And Elon Musk, lifelong Democrat, waited in line to shake Barack Obama's hand. Ooh, Barack Obama, he can slow the rise of the oceans. He's going to cure the planet. Remember, he said he was going to heal the planet too, Barack Obama. And this is the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow because he had been elected president. They have a God complex that is unhealthy, to say the least. But this is why Joe Biden and the Democrats have turned on the billionaire donors to the Democrat Party, and now calling them oligarchs. I've been calling them oligarchs for many years, the information oligarchs in service of the Democrat Party. But the Democrat Party's gone so filthy, berserk, crazy that, RFK Jr. is fleeing them. Elon Musk is fleeing them. Mark Zuckerberg is just saying, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And what you guys did, the FBI threatening us and calling us names and cursing at us and being a menace to us, he decided to say it out loud. Good for him. Now the government has turned on them. Joe Biden is the government for a couple more minutes. Isn't that amazing? Now let's go back to soundbite number one, because Joe Biden from the Oval Office yesterday, and I wanted to get into those other topics first, but at the beginning of his speech from the Oval Office, sitting on pillows on the chair behind the Resolute desk, was it to boost him up, or was it because, preparation H? I don't know. But Joe Biden last night in the Oval Office addressing the American people, and he's trying to take credit for a ceasefire in the Middle East, which is maybe or maybe not go.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office.
My or our?
Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today.
Breaking news.
After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, my administration,
8 months,
a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas, the elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be, working together as Americans.
Yeah, sure. Now, you haven't lifted a finger to do anything to bring peace to the Middle East or peace to Ukraine. And this is the Trump effect. President Trump warned Hamas, now you're going to be dealing with me, right? And he said if the hostages aren't released, there'll be, he didn't say hell to pay. I always screw up his turn of phrase on this. But he made it clear that he's not joking, and he's not a joke like Joe Biden is.
If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Can you elaborate? And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
That's the Trump effect. All hell will break out. I would normally say all hell will break loose, but that's just, a tired old turn of phrase. And President Trump, all hell will break out. And then suddenly the terrorists are at the table saying, okay, we'll turn over when is Inauguration Day? Well, it's Monday, Binky. And now they're sitting down with Israel. Oh, yeah, we'll release the hostages as long as you give us 1,000 terrorists that were actually convicted of murder in courts by juries. We'll hand over the kidnapped victims that we've been torturing for so long now. And Joe Biden thinks that he can take credit for this. And that's just another reason that he's an embarrassment to Western civilization. This is, make no mistake, this is the Trump effect. And when Joe Biden makes it seem like this is really a great thing, this hostage deal, the release of the hostages, a peace deal, a ceasefire. Don't believe it. First of all, you're dealing with terrorists, radical Islamic jihadi, kidnapping, raping, murdering, torturing terrorists. And believe it or not, they also tell untruths. They also lie. You can't depend on them to be entirely truthful while they're holding hostages in a tunnel network built with international money that was supposed to clothe children. But never mind that. So Hamas is now going back on the agreement, on a number of elements of the agreement that Joe Biden was bragging about last night. And he's a completely ridiculous person. But now they're going back on it because they didn't really want a deal. They just want their terrorists to be freed. That's what they do. Now, the agreement says that 9 of the hostages will be released in exchange for 110 Palestinian prisoners. Now, the prisoners were put on trial for murder and terrorism, many of them mass murder, also kidnapping and torture and so on. You release 110 of them who were legitimately convicted in a court, and we'll give you 9 hostages that we kidnapped, raped, and tortured. And some of them might be dead, and we'll give you back their bodies because we're savages, right? The Rafah crossing, the famous Rafah crossing, has to be readied up for Palestinians, and they'll give back a female hostage or 2, and then we get medical treatment for all of our terrorists that were wounded in combat. 50 Hamas terrorists, they call them fighters, receive treatment, medical treatment, once they cross into Egypt through the Rafah crossing, the Rafah gate, right? And that sounds like a good deal. We'll do that. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the great world leader, savior of civilization, he's the head of Fort Apache on the edge of Indian territory, and put out a statement. Now, this may be moot by now, but they put out the office of Benjamin Netanyahu put out a statement. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke this evening with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, you notice, and thanked him for his assistance in advancing the release of the hostages and for helping Israel bring an end to the suffering of dozens of hostages and their families. Isn't it fascinating that he thanked President Trump, because it's the Trump effect, and it's what Trump said that got the ball rolling here, and not anything that Joe Biden did, because Joe Biden has done next to nothing. Now, there were weapons, again, that were transferred, and even weapons that were used against Iran to disable some of their military capabilities, their genocidal capabilities. But make no mistake, this is Donald John Trump that got the ball rolling here. Now, there's scheduled to be, and I'm not sure, I haven't looked at the very latest, but today in the Knesset, the parliament in Israel, there was supposed to be a vote on whether to accept this deal or not. But now the troglodytes are changing the terms of the deal, as they so often do. And there's supposed to be a 48-hour period and then a ceasefire for X number of days. But you can't trust these guys, believe it or not. I know that might be hard to believe. There are allegedly 7 Americans still being held, but get a load of this. 4 of them are dead bodies. Only 3 of them haven't been murdered by the savages. So they say, oh, yeah, we've got 7 American hostages, and we will release 7 American hostages. 4 of them are dead bodies. 3 of them have been tortured and abused for all this time. Isn't that amazing? So you give us 1,000 prisoners, 110 plus that have been sentenced to life in prison for murder and terrorism, and we'll give you 9 hostages in exchange. That's a big victory for Hamas. That's why they kidnapped people in the first place, just by the way. So what Joe Biden is negotiating is the biggest loser ever. Because remember, he gave Iran $6 billion in exchange for 5 hostages. For Democrats, that's $1.2 billion per hostage. That incentivizes more hostage-taking, not less. Peace through strength, death through weakness. Joe Biden equals weakness. The Democrats equal death. Not to put too fine a point on it, but there it is. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally available, and it builds on the incredible success of previous generations, which earned thousands of 5-star reviews and quickly became a bestseller. You know, the new thunderstorm uses two different technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses in the air. You know, mold and flu and Wuhan, removes dust from the air and smoke and a whole lot more, helps get rid of any odor. And you don't have to buy filters again and again to replace like you do with so many air filters. The thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Trash cans, cigarette smoke, smelly shoes, left-wing protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And right now, you can save up to $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You can put one in your basement, your bedroom, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. And all you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3 to save $200. Get one as a gift. Bring one to the office. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. So we got that going for us. And I'm still not done with this clown on his way out the door. What an awful person. And the Democrats on Capitol Hill, they've got a new demand. I've got that coming up, too. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Okay, let's grab a phone call, and I've still got. Joe Biden did say one or more two really dumb and dishonest and corrupt things. I'll get to those. Let's go to Rick calling from Waukegan, Illinois. Rick, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello?
Hey, Rick. How are you?
Oh, I'm calling from Winnetka. Sorry.
Oh, it says Waukegan. My apologies. Winnetka, Illinois.
No, that's all right. Two things real quick. I hear you from time to time refer to your earlier departure from New Trier West High School than your scheduled graduation date.
Yes, that happened, yes.
I want to tell you, you either must have some school administrators who appreciate your show, or perhaps you're on Biden's preemptive pardon list because you're a member of the Distinguished Alumni New Trier list.
Who said that? Who did that?
I don't know, but it's listed online.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's funny. I was kicked out of that school.
I know. Well, I thought you would appreciate it, so you got that going for you, as you would say, you know. When you, a couple of months ago, you first played Fanfare for the First Lady, and there was a lot of talk about how it sounded like F Troop, and I thought of a different song, and I went and listened to it, and although it wasn't very similar at all in the music.
I'm going to ask you to hang on for just a minute. Can you hang on for just a minute? I need to come back to you. All right, let's. Rick is still on the line, calling from beautiful and sunny Winnetka, Illinois, where it's probably a little bit chilly today, a little chilly. It's along Lake Michigan, get a little breeze, and we got that Arctic blast coming down. It's probably time for Juicy Smollett to go out to get a Subway sandwich. So Rick, I find this hard to believe that a high school that I was kicked out of has me on a list of distinguished. I'm not even a graduate because I didn't graduate from there.
I understand, but you're there with Charlton Heston and Rock Hudson and Ann Margaret and Bruce Dern and some of the local people too. Rahm Emanuel, the ballerina, and some of the other people.
Right.
You're listed, so congratulations. I wanted to let you know about that.
That is pretty weird. Rahm Emanuel and I were in the same class. It would be fair to say we didn't hang out with the same people.
The other thing I wanted to just share with you was back in the summertime, you did a couple of segments on Jill Biden and her demand for fanfare of the First Lady,
right.
And you were talking about how it sounded like F Troop and some other things, and it stopped because after its debut, Biden announced he was dropping out of the race, and I think they just stopped doing that. When I heard you play that theme, I thought of a different song, and I went off and listened to it, and while it really doesn't sound anything similar to Fanfare for the First Lady musically. It did trigger a thought for me. I'd like to give you a quick little quiz here. Do you remember what was on WGN TV Channel 9 in Chicago every weekday, Monday through Friday, from noon to 1 o'clock?
Noon to 1 o'clock. I can't say my TV guide memory is going to be that perfect.
You quote the show quite often when you talk about the 10-year-old that missed bucket number 6 on the grand prize game.
But it's Bozo the Clown.
That's right.
Yeah, sure, Bozo
anyway,
the Clown. Cram it, Clown.
At the end of the show, with about a minute left, they'd hand Bozo a big baton.
Uh-huh.
They'd open up the grandstand gate to the studio audience.
Sure.
The band would play Bozo's Grand March, and he'd lead the studio audience out of the studio.
Right. Remember the big shoes, right? And the baton marching like these. I'm going like this with my hand like I've got the... Yeah.
Exactly. I thought on Biden's last day, the Marine Band could line the driveway outside of the front door. They can give Biden a large baton. The Marine Band can play Bozo's Grand March, and Biden could lead his family, his cabinet, his advisors, and other members of his administration down the driveway, out onto Pennsylvania, camera fade to black.
Do the Bozo March out of the Biden White House. It does seem very appropriate, Rick. Now, you're in Winnetka. Are you in downtown beautiful Winnetka or in Hubbard Woods? Where are you now?
No, I'm a little bit south, right on the Winnetka-Wilmette border.
Very good, very good. Listen, thank you for the call. A lot of fun. A little walk down memory lane. And I got to now. What's the website where I'm listed on this thing? Because I never found myself on this list before.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll just send it to you. Okay.
Okay. Good. It's a deal. Thank you. That's
Multiple
great.
things. Enjoy talking to you.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thank you. Have a great Chicago day. You think it's probably a little chilly there? It's probably a little Chile. All right, now let's because Joe Biden is saving the world, from the oligarchs' threat to democracy, something like that, and Israel and all that good stuff. And after this one, you wanted to go to soundbite number 12. Let's go to soundbite number 12 because Joe Biden is, I've got this great deal going, and with peace and a ceasefire and the hostage exchange with the troglodytes from hell that kidnap, rape, and murder everybody because they're here to kill civilization, and the Democrats are helping. Joe Biden's been funding it, just by the way, with our money. Thank you very much. And let's go. Here's a news reporter talking about the implementation of this big alleged ceasefire peace deal hostage exchange.
The implementation of this deal will be in the hands of the next administration, and basically they will shape the future of Gaza. So how do you see this future? And also, how much credit do you give to the Trump team for this deal? Trump is already taking credit for it.
Well, this is the exact framework of the deal I proposed back in May. Exact. And we got the world to endorse it?
No. For 8 months, what you just admitted is that your idiot deal was completely ignored for the better part of a year. And now that Donald Trump is hours away from being inaugurated, suddenly the troglodytes are at the table saying, we'll trade hostages for the same terrorists that we wanted when we first murdered everybody and kidnapped the rest. Isn't that amazing? And Joe Biden at the White House yesterday.
I knew this deal would have to be implemented by the next team. So I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do.
Yeah, because that's what American presidents do. This deal is the wheels are coming off all over the place. And here's another reporter says, well, wait a minute. This is the Trump effect, isn't it? Because President Trump warned Hamas. Now, you warned Hamas, but they completely ignore you because you have no credibility. Nobody believes you. You're a weak leader, and you don't threaten anybody. You don't scare anybody. President Trump, on the other hand, one sentence that I played for you just a few minutes ago, and the troglodytes started snapping too. So here's the question from a reporter and Joe Biden.
Thank you.
Folks, credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh. Thank you.
Who deserves more credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump? Is that a joke? No, you are a joke. That was a legitimate question. Isn't that amazing? Wah, wah, wah. Now, State Department, at the State Department, we had State Department spokesman Matt Miller on the question yesterday, talking about and again, the question came up. Well, President Trump threatened the terrorists, and now the terrorists are negotiating. That didn't happen for a long, long time, and the deadline is Monday for the terrorists to release the hostages. Otherwise, they're going to have to deal with Donald Trump. And at the State Department yesterday, Matt Miller.
President-elect Trump's team has been absolutely critical in getting this deal over the line. And it's been critical because, obviously, as I stand here today, this administration's term in office will expire in 5 days. And one of the things that we have always said about this deal is that when you get from stage 1 to stage 2, that the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are the guarantors of this deal. And Egypt and Qatar will push Hamas to stay at the bargaining table and to get from stage 1 to stage 2, and the United States will push Israel to stay at the bargaining table to get from phase 1 and phase 2. So obviously those are promises we cannot make on behalf of the United States for any longer than the next 5 days.
Yeah, and nobody takes you seriously and nobody believes you, and that's why you got nothing done forever, and why they're snapping to now is because of Donald Trump. And by the way, the leadership in Qatar might as well be Hamas. They might as well be holding hostages in tunnels of their own, because they are bad guys. They're not good guys in this discussion. Matt Miller at the State Department.
We, of course, thank the Trump team for working with this on this ceasefire agreement. We think it's important that they were at the table. And I think it shows that when Americans are willing to work together across partisan lines, as we were willing to do on this occasion, because it's in the national interest of the United States.
On this occasion.
Get done.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, you guys, working across the aisle, that's what you're all about. Because you're all about working across the aisle, aren't you? Speaking of which, I mentioned that the Democrats on Capitol Hill have a new plan for themselves. And the radical left-wing extremist fake journalists at Mediaite, they've got a headline, Progressive, that means left-wing radical, progressive congressional staffers ask their bosses to shorten their work week to 32 hours. Quote, I mean, it's these people, they're lazy socialists, they're Bolsheviks. Quote, making the work on the Hill more effective, because the less you work, the more effective it is. Tell you what, if the less frequently you're there, the more effective you are, you're fired. Because then, that will be the ultimate ineffectiveness for you. If working 32 hours instead of 40 hours makes you more effective, you can only imagine how effective you'll be when you're not there at all. 0 hours, that's a force multiplier. Just amazing stuff. So left-wing Democrat staffers on Capitol Hill are now demanding a 32-hour work week because they say that will make them more effective and efficient. That's what they say. The Congressional Progressive Staff Association, can you imagine what they smell like? They must be monkeypox on fire. Am I right? Honestly. The Congressional Progressive Staff Association, CPSA, released a letter on Thursday, that's today, requesting that lawmakers pilot a 32-hour work week program for 6 months, which would translate to 32 hours work week for D.C.-based staff, but not if you work in the regional offices. You still have to work 40 hours there, just the D.C.-based staff. During district work periods and 32-hour work weeks for the district-based staff while Congress is in session. Then when they're not in session, nobody knows how long they're working because their bosses aren't there, so they don't have to show up at all. They're crooks. They've been raised by leftists to be anti-everything. Anti-everything. And I got to tell you, we're doing a little home renovation and we moved and stuff. I've got so many stories to tell you about the wheels coming off in this country and in this city, but never mind that. I also just got, so they want a 32-hour work week. That's your Democrat Party and the staffers, and they go on and on about it. They really love the idea of working less. That'll make them more efficient. Me, I work 60 to 70 hours a week. That's my work week. And, and I'm a lucky guy. I'm just a lucky guy. Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. Also, this YouTube guy who goes by the name Mr. Beasts, he's the one who brought the wells to bring water to 5 countries in Africa that still don't have electricity and they don't have fresh water because, the patriarchy and colonialism was so terrible that they still don't have clean water to drink. They get dysentery and everything else from their whatever water they're drinking that's poisonous. And then, of course, they have sub-Saharan Africa 50% plus without electricity at all. Not just rolling blackouts, but every day, no electricity. Well, this Mr. Beast guy who went and put wells in to give fresh water to 500,000 people, it's like a 28-year-old guy from North Carolina who does YouTube videos. Never mind, that did more than the United Nations. It took him about a week to do more than the United Nations has done since 1950. But never mind that. YouTube star Mr. Beast, and he makes a huge amount of money posting videos on YouTube, expresses interest in purchasing TikTok less than a week before ban. And the Supreme Court is looking at it and stuff. And now this guy, I don't even think he's 30 years old, and he's talking about buying TikTok with money, and he's going to put together other rich people, but to buy TikTok because, why not? Amazing, amazing stuff. The guy's done a very remarkable thing, actually. All right, now let's go to cringe Jean-Pierre at the White House yesterday during the briefing. Now, have the wheels come completely off on the Middle East peace deal yet? No, but the death toll in California is now up to 27 from the fires and will continue to go up. Cringe Jean-Pierre, White House briefing.
We're sort of dancing around who gets to take credit for this deal.
No one's dancing around here.
Colleague at the State Department briefed our colleagues that President Trump was critical in getting this deal over the line. Do you not agree with that statement?
I mean, look, I'm not going to speak to a random person. I don't know who this person is. I'm not going to. Oh.
I don't know who this person is. You mean the State Department spokesman that we just played for you? Cringe.
What I can say is there are steps that were taken here that is really important and critical, and that started with this president starting a framework that was agreed upon by the world back in May. And that was because of this president. That was because he was able to lay out his thoughts, his thinking on how to move forward with this negotiation. What I said before, this is someone who understands foreign policy as I'm talking about the president. He understands how difficult it is, and this was not an easy one.
Yeah, not an easy one. It's, peace in the Middle East, not an easy one. And what did you guys do again for all this time? Nothing happened until we're hours away from the inauguration of President Trump. President Trump laid down the law. Now it's happening. Cringe.
This has been going on for some time. It has. I mean, that's just the reality of it. That is just the facts of it. Have we been coordinating and working closely with the incoming Trump administration, their transition team? Yes. And we've been very forthcoming about that. But the fact of the matter is, it took someone who has the experience that this president had to get this going, to get this moving, to understand what negotiations look like. And that's what this president was able to bring to the table. And it got done under his watch.
Total fraud. And it hasn't gotten done, by the way. It's not done. It's not behind you. It's not in the rearview mirror. The hostages are still being held and tortured and everything else. And there is no ceasefire. It's not done. They talk about it like it's done. It's not. She lies. She's going to lie her way out the door. Then she'll get a great job, maybe with MSDNC. What do you think? We should start a lotto. Where is Cringe going to land her $1 million job when she leaves the corrupt Biden White House? Maybe in Ukraine. Maybe Ukraine's got something for her. Volodymyr Zelensky and Ukraine.
I mean it sincerely. I'm supposedly an expert in foreign policy. I've known every major world leader for the past 25 years.
Yeah, we're moving from one place to another, I told you. From one apartment to another, basically. And we wanted our phone number moved. And this outfit called Astound There's like a cable company, internet company, and they can't find our phone number. They lost it. It could take weeks and cost thousands of lives before they find the phone number. Pretty amazing stuff.
Nothing runs anymore. Nothing works.
That's Soylent Green, right? The beginning of Michael just popped it on me. The open of Soylent Green, which was set in the year 2022, right?
New York City in the year 2022.
Soylent Green. We're eating people. Even Edward G. Robinson. You got to be really hungry to eat Edward G. Robinson, I got to tell you. Remarkable stuff. Speaking of Edward G. Robinson and having nothing to do with anything, Bob Uecker, the Uke. Bob Uecker has died, the baseball great and the broadcast great, Bob Uecker. And that's sad because he was always hilarious, hilariously funny baseball player, sports broadcaster. And, now moves on to his great reward. And now he's in the front row now. Now he's got a front row seat because he's the Uke. And it's sad, but it's Bob Uecker, good life, well lived. And now he's got a seat in the front row, no doubt about it, I think. We've got a lot going on in this city, and we're just really it's Thursday afternoon, and on Monday we have Inauguration Day, and the city is geared up. We just got word the city's got. If you're coming to Washington, we just got word there was a shooting blocks from the radio station here, right across from the Sidwell Friends School, one of the most exclusive schools in Washington, where the kids of presidents go. That's where the Obama kids went, right? The Obama kids went to the Sidwell Friends. And right across the street got a shooting over there, and somebody else pistol whipped. And the police are on the lookout for Democrats. They usually don't give descriptions of the gunman because it might be prejudiced to do so. But we got lots of wacky. If you're coming in for the inauguration, fear not, though. It'll be really cold, and there are going to be so many police there. It's going to be great. We've got people coming in for the inauguration. It's going to be a great day for America and a great day in America and a great and cold day in D.C.